Mexican-American students want to lead this protest, a protest which we, unfortunately, have not had the courage as adults to lead in the past, then we will back and support the Mexican-American students in their efforts.
The administrators are saying that we're disrupting the educational process. That's not so. The educational process of Mexican Americans for over 20 years in East Los Angeles and throughout the Southwest has been disrupted by its failure to communicate with the Mexican American. That is the disruption. When 57% of the students at Garfield drop out year after year, there has to be a problem. We're not operating in a vacuum. There's social injustice.
They needed to be jolted and shocked. And it's what happened. I think the establishment, the status quo, was surprised that all these little Mexican kids would be blowing out and walking out and protesting.
What could the community have done? Did they have a legitimate complaint? Absolutely. Did they bring that complaint to public attention in the only way they could have? Probably. But were they right on everything? No.
Striking students gathered at a local park and demanded a meeting with school board members.
I cannot compel the Board of Education to come. My feeling is that members of the Board of Education will be happy to come and talk with you.
Can I respond to that? Now, what I've said to you is that I realize your limitations, but I'm also saying that we, the students, are demanding that they come. We are only asking you to relay this information.
And I remember the area superintendent tried to talk to us, but he didn't have anything to say. What could he say to us? And so the students got up there and spoke, and there was this tremendous energy and fervor. There was an excitement that we actually pulled it off.
Despite opposition, walkout leaders from Eastside schools forged a united front.
And we're supposed to have a meeting with the school board, and they picked down on us. Well, what they're trying to do is split us up, and we don't want them to split us up, do we?
My decision to walk out was probably the lightest decision in terms of what I probably would have liked to have done at that point, with that kind of youth and energy and anger.
That's why we're not going to be here like separate schools. We're all united in Chicago, right?
The walkouts continued. Tensions increased.
Could we please have a quiet? Now listen, the assembly will stop until the police leave. We are having a peaceful demonstration. We do not need police officers at this place. The policemen, if they are here, should leave the area. I think that we can take care of things ourselves. That
Community leaders and school board members tried to calm the situation.
to the extent that you dramatize the problem, you help me. To the extent that you convince the public that you will demand at all costs, you handicap me. Consider that.
I was aware that there was frustration within the minority community. I was aware that there was great political opposition within the majority community. And so I knew that, in a sense, we were sitting on a tinderbox.
Now, I want to tell you once again, we're asking for the election. If not, I really hate to do this again, but we were just have to walk out once more.
I commend you to the people of the state of California to disperse immediately. Go ahead.
Problems began to escalate. Police were called in to maintain order.
The police were not our friends back then. They were there to keep us down. And certainly the authorities of the time felt that we were just crazy, you know, that the Mexicans were getting out of control.
Start moving from here. Quiero los chavales que se descuenten de aquí porque ahorita va a ir un pedo en la fregada. So everybody starts splitting, man. I mean it, man. They're going to start picking them in the buses.
The unlawful order assembly included the stand inside the football field. Anyone on the stand will be arrested.
Following the Watts riot in 1965, law enforcement began to undergo what we call the DART training, disaster and riot training, recognizing that we may be facing a period of unrest. I'd be less than truthful if I sat here and said that we always do everything perfectly and never overreact. There are occasions when individuals do overreact.
The only thing that happened was that one of the gates on that Wednesday afternoon, they couldn't get out the gate, and one of all things, the quarterback of the football team tried to break the lock, and the police arrested him. And I said, you can't, we need him now, just take it easy, he's the quarterback.
I felt two arms on each side of my body, grabbed me underneath my arms, pulled me away off from the main line of students. They assumed I was an outsider from the school.
People were just running in the streets, just clubbing people. I mean, the police were just clubbing the people in the streets and running after them. And some of them were just sitting on the lawns there.
At first to see such resistance, and then to see outright hostility, brutality, it didn't match the thing that we were doing. We didn't commit a crime, we were protesting.
I thought they had overreacted somewhat, and that might have been because I don't think they had such a thing before in their career of confronting 200 or 300 high school students determined to cross the street. That's what it amounted to.
I think what people saw was that even when kids were involved in constitutionally protected activity, such as legitimate protests, such as the walkouts were, and yet they were abused and jailed.
Police were not kind to high school students. They treated them in the same way that they treated other Mexicans, and that was not very good. So the parents were concerned that somebody would get hurt.
We knew what the danger was, we could see it. But we also couldn't stop it. They were already there. They were doing it themselves. So it just spurred us on to get these reforms going so that it would cool off.
School authorities began to pressure the striking students.
The kids are now getting calls from principals that they're going to be suspended, that they're going to be expelled, that anybody that was headed for college and had grants or scholarships, the scholarships were to be taken away. We needed some public official to say the kids are right.
We all went to go meet Bobby Kennedy on the day he was about to go meet Cesar Chavez, who was undergoing his fast at the point, to request that he support our efforts, in which he did, in which he was very, I guess, generous with his words and very offered us positive support.
He knew all about the walkouts. He had a list of our demands. He asked us a couple of questions, and he told us that he supported everything that we did.
We are not going to play games.
Parents concerned for their children's future became actively involved.
We are not going to allow this situation to continue. We are not going to let young people below the age of 18 do the work that belongs to us.
As their children had done, they asked to meet with school officials. Their request was denied.
It seems that our voices are not heard.
What else have they left for us to do? All we can do is support them.
We spent 3 weeks trying to find one educator to understand the meaning of lack of respect. El respeto al derecho ajeno es la paz.
It's a real place where our movement was going to definitely demonstrate its full potential and strength was here in the city. For the first time, what was more significant is not what individuals were doing, but what masses of people were doing. And that's what the walkouts demonstrated. Our movement was not a movement of cadres, of individuals, of organizations, but of mass involvement.
Men and women of the Mexican-American community.
3 weeks later, the school board bowed to pressure and agreed to meet with parents.
We have allowed our young people to get the short end of the stick for too long.
The students returned to school, hoping things would work out. Parents and teachers from East LA began meeting regularly with the school board to implement the students' demands. The students had not only taught their parents about education, they'd also expanded the concept of what civil rights meant in America. By early June, things seemed back to normal.
2:30 in the morning, banging at the door, bang, bang, bang. And I go to the door, bang, the door comes down. The LAPD, sheriffs, county sheriffs, with their weapons drawn, come right in, with their weapons pointed at my head.
He grabbed me, threw me into a car, pulled his gun, handcuffed me, and I asked, what am I being arrested for? And they wouldn't tell me. You know, so the next thing I knew, I was downtown in the Glass House.
They put the cuffs on me, and they said, you know, we're gonna take him off. They took him off again, and we're gonna give you 10 steps that you can make a run for it. I knew what they wanted to do. And I said, ah, cabrón, I said to myself, this is really serious business, you know. And I was scared for my life. And all I can remember thinking was my children, you know, my 2 children, what's gonna happen to them after they kill me? And I put my hands back again. You better cuff me and take me in.
13 Chicano leaders involved in the walkouts were arrested and indicted on conspiracy charges. One of them was Sal Castro. If convicted, each defendant faced 66 years in prison.
You know, in reality, it's not us that are indicted. It's not us that are up for conspiracy. Because in the long run, the indictment will be on the Board of Education. The convictions will be on the individual members of the Board of Education, principals, vice principals, and counselors who've been completely negligent of their jobs for years and years and years. And it's not only an indictment of the Los Angeles schools, but of all the schools in the Southwest, where Chicanos have gone to for years, and where the schools have failed miserably in teaching them. They will be indicted, and they will be convicted. And in the long run, our kids will win, the Mexican will win, the United States will win. All of us ganaremos. Gracias.
Entered, and he still bosses around and calls mijo and mija, and we still do whatever he says. I just want to thank you, Sal, thank you, Carlos, and been a pleasure taking part in this tribute.
Now we have something special for Sal Castro. To please come forward, Sal. And I'm inviting Monica Garcia, who will be duly elected very, very shortly, to the same Board of Education that they were wrapping in this film, who's going to take up our cause on the Los Angeles Unified School Board District. Monica Garcia, please come forward.
Buenas tardes. How fabulous, as a daughter of the East Side and a student of Chicano Studies from Berkeley, where I learned that our mission was to destapar porque hay muchos tapados. How fabulous to be here with you today, celebrating a history of struggle, a history of victory in many ways, and a history that has to still play out. Because I will be elected to the school board on June 6th as the third Latina in 155 years. And as part of that board, I can absolutely be charged with a crime and indicted. And that was the statement Sal made in '68 is true today. We have a lot of work to do. But the good news is that our community's capacity has continued to grow as well. The good news is that the fight and the fire to get us to 100% graduation at LAUSD is not dead. And in many parts, because people like Sal became giants for all of us to acknowledge, honor, and more than that, honor them with our actions. And so I'm very, very proud that I can be part of a community that has a lot to teach. Places like UCLA, and places like the Board of Education, and places like Roosevelt High School and Lincoln, because our community's voices, our community's strengths, our community's real talents have yet to be unleashed in Los Angeles. And so Sal, as one of the 720,000 students of LAUSD and the 80,000 employees that celebrate you, and from the state Senate, we have thank you, Sal Castro, for leading and moving us in a new movement for equality, for inspiring us to stand for what we believe in and not to settle for less than what we deserve. And anybody that knows Sal Castro and the story of the Chicano movement knows that we have a lot of work to do, but we have great history to bring forward and to celebrate one day. That wonderful, powerful community of Mexican Los Angeles and diverse Los Angeles, where we can all achieve when we do our jobs. So please, everybody, one more round of applause for our hero today, Sal Castro.
I can't begin to say what I'm feeling right now. Is I think even at the beginning of the conference when I said a few words, it's humbling, extremely humbling. Many of you took your eye off the ball and started talking of something else other than the Chicano Youth Leadership Conference, which was again the Mexican American Youth Leadership Conference. But first of all, I want to thank Carlos Otto for this. Let's give him a big hand for this fantastic symposium and his. Thank you very much. And the Chicano center that he serves, I remember the first Chicano center that we were voting on. I forget the gentleman's name, but we had a hell of a time trying to get somebody here at UCLA. My mind goes back to the very first time I came here to meet with the young people from UMass, and Al's smiling face was there, Susan was there, Luis was there. Moctezuma Esparza was there, Carl Vasquez was there, it's Juan Gomez Quinones was there, it's Juan Gomez in those days, and I mean it was a who's who, an elite of the later intelligentsia in our educational community. And as I told them then, I said, you know, I need you, and I had Paula with me, and I remember, Paula, who else did we have here with us that day? We went to Kirchhoff Hall, I remember. Do you remember who else was here? Just you? No, we did take more than you. I know there was more than you, but anyway, I said, you know, I need you young folks for your heads. And they stretched out, well, yeah, he wants us for our intellectual power so we can plan, you know, and figure out what we're going to do. And I said, no, I need you for your chavetas in case the cops come down with their belly clubs, and you'll get your heads in the way to give the kids a chance either to run back to school or run home.
and they hesitated a little bit. What the hell is he talking about? Okay, yeah, all right, we agree. And that same speech was made at other places, including Cal State LA and Northridge and Long Beach State and SC and every other community college, and everybody all agreed in unison, yes. And it's because of these brave young folks, not only the high school students, which I say were the greatest generation of high school students, but the college young folks. And I guess I should speak more about that after the movie, because I do plan to make some remarks after the movie walkout. But again, all the presenters that were here, thank you very much, really, sincerely, sinceramente. We always use it from the bottom of our heart, pero sinceramente is probably the better, more appropriate word for your kind words and all your efforts and planning to make your presentations here. We're really fantastic. And, again, it's almost like, I guess, the movie, you say, well, how's the movie going to come out? And I knew this was going to happen. And de veras, you had me in tears. Much of the time you had me in tears back there. You notice I was back there. Because in a person's life, you say, what am I put on this earth for? And I remember the more I knew of what was wrong, the more I felt this 20-pound weight on my shoulders, 30-pound, 50-pound, 100-pound, 200-pound weight on my shoulders, that something had to be done. The more I worked playgrounds from the 1950s all the way through the 1960s, my first playground, again, Echo Park and Solano Avenue, where Chucky Moreno was probably, he told you already, my Chucky Moreno, my second baseman shortstop, was there. And later on at Echo Park, and later on at 10th Street School, and the more I heard from the students, the more this weight was on my shoulders, that something had to be done. And then comes Hess Kramer, the volunteering for Camp Hess Kramer. The weight got even heavier. I could barely walk. By the time 1968 came around, man, I couldn't walk. But tell you what, the minute those young people walked out the doors, I saw them walking out the doors, tears were in my eyes, and that weight was gone. What I was put on this earth to do, we accomplished. And it's because of many of you that are in this room here today. And again, I say, muchísimas gracias, sinceramente, por el corazón profundo. Again, somebody said that, you want to leave some kind of legacy, but I guess it's right. It's what you've done when you're living that counts, not what you did afterwards. Así es que, again, con el corazón de Azteca, corazón de la raza de bronce, estoy muy orgulloso de estar enfrente de ustedes este día. Y otra vez, muchísimas gracias.
You have never asked us for a dime. How do we get behind you? How do we start writing checks? How do we get a foundation behind you? How do we make this legacy continue? Okay? I want to know that because I want to write a check.
We've been kicking it around that we're going. Thank you for the question too, Al. We've been kicking it around that we want to do a fundraiser every year. We want to have a reception sometime at the Biltmore every year, and then write solicitations to all the folks that have been involved with us at Hess Kramer and otherwise. Somebody told me that it was probably 8,000 to 10,000 young people that have been through it. Now those same young people today are now professionals from all over the Southwest and probably across the United States. And we want to ask them that, please give back to what we tried to do for you at Hess Kramer. Give us $5, give us $10, give us $25. Commit $25 to $100 a year so we can keep this going. As you know, this is a magnificent conference because it's all volunteers. Everyone that is involved is a volunteer, including me. If it wasn't for that beautiful lady over there called Elsa Cisneros. My right arm, because again, we don't have a paid clerical staff. She's there constantly. She's there even on weekends, keeping the thing going. We do have to begin, as Al said, begin having a paid clerical staff to be there so they can answer the phone, so we can begin getting so many volunteers that want to help us. We have interns that want to help us from UCLA, from Northridge, from the high schools. We can move ahead so much. And I think that to the two young folks that are here that are involved in attempting to get beginning a fundraiser are Myrna Broody and my son Gilbert Castro. Well, Gilbert, stand up, Gil. Gil is still single, ladies and gentlemen. They're looking good. And they are the money people. They are the money people, and along with several other folks that want to be involved, I think we can talk to them. I think we can begin getting the ball rolling on that.
Now, are we incorporated as a foundation?
We are a 501. Yes, right. Through the great efforts of where's our lawyer? Where's our resident lawyer? Dr. Duron there. He's here. We are a 501. Oh yes. So thank you again. And before I go, I must have Mita Coron come up because she's our resident nurse. Mita Coron is our resident. She is our resident nurse that is there the 3 days, and has the kids, take care of the kids, broken spirits, broken whatever. But she's there with us.
I have to compose myself. It's.
We love you, Mita.
This last episode with students walking out, when I saw the students walking on the freeway, I said, oh my God, I gotta do something. I made calls, I called friends. I just showed up at City Hall. There must have been around 35, 40 people. And I understand that Sal had just left. I didn't know what I was going to do. But I lived 24 hours in a period of 4 hours. My youth just came back to me. My adrenaline, I was so concerned and so angry. How are these kids gonna get home, I said. So I go down there. It was Monday, right after Campus Kramer. And I met this young student, and I can't remember her name, from Montebello High School, and all of a sudden somebody jumps on me, and it's this young girl. She says, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. We've had such a long day, she said. And then she got the megaphone and she told the crowd, I want you to listen to Mita. She is an original from '68, and I want you to hear what she has to tell you. And I said to myself, oh my goodness. Now, Sal, remember the speech I said the day before, Te ventastes, right? All I had to say was, I hope I don't get a headache this time. They put that megaphone in my mouth, and I completely lost it. I said to them, I am so proud of you. We are so proud of you, what you've done the last few days. But I want to tell you something. Not one drop of blood do we want to see. Not one head bashed in do we want to see. Not one body in the jail do we want to see. We have people that love you, that want to protect you. You don't need to do what I went through, because I was there. They beat me up with my father and my aunt. They handcuffed us and maced us and put us in jail on 3rd Street. We don't have to go through this again. We don't have to repeat this again. Right now, people are talking about meeting and protecting you, so I do not want to see any blood. If that wasn't enough to say, I was done. I was taking kids home. I was dropping kids at the metro. I went to Pollo Loco. I bought food. of which my card didn't go through, and I said, oh my God, now's not the time for this to happen. I put in another card. I delivered the food. I'm almost done. And then when I did the food, I said, okay, I gotta go home and see if I have a tent or something, because there were mothers there taking their students out, their kids out of school. I drove home. I got rope, hammers, a tarp, sweaters, blankets, anything I could get my hands on. And there I was with the kids putting up a tent. And at the very end, one of the mothers says to me, do you have a time at all? I said, I will be back tomorrow. And the next day I went back and I drove right into the driveway as if it was my driveway. And I didn't know Sal was there. And the little girl that was at Montebello popped up and I gave her the groceries. And so that's what I did. And you know, that was a gift that you gave me, Sal. That passion, that energy, that spirit. This is why I'm here. And as tired as I get going, once I'm there, the world just, it revolves around the students. And it's the very least that I can do. So thank you for inviting me up, Sal. Oh, and I kept calling up Sal. Sal, I'm down here, I'm working, I'm doing this thing.
I told you she was our resident nurse. You know, my experience at that Tuesday walkout was a little different, because I had gone there Monday and I had a hell of a time getting there. In fact, somebody sent a car for me. But the second day, this was too much. The second day, the superintendent calls me. The same office that threw me in jail 38 years before calls me up, Romer's office, and said, we would like to have you there to keep the lid on. And I said, I had a hell of a time trying to get through yesterday. He said, no. I'm sending my car and my driver to your home to pick you up. So here I go to there, and then I get there, and the kids didn't know who the hell I was. They thought I was CIA. In fact, some of them said my parents weren't married when they had me, you know, so that was my experience. But, you know, we went all the way with them. Unfortunately, I was in a car. I would have keeled over somewhere dead. But the kids wanted to go to Jefferson High School from City Hall, so they did. It was raining and everything else, and it was reminiscent of the 68 Friday walkout. All the way to Jefferson High we went. Of course, I was in a car, but the kids went over, and I wanted to stay there because I thought that maybe there we could actually talk to the young people and tell them that they had done a wonderful job. But all of a sudden, the driver gets a call that Romer's got a meeting, so I had to come back. But that was my experience, a little different than Mita. But sure enough, there was Mita when I was standing up there with the kids. And again, someone were calling me, "You're CIA, son of a bitch, get off the stage." But anyway, see, here comes Mita in her little car. Here comes Mita in her little car, emptying out her car with food. So that was, again, my resident nurse. Gracias. And by the way, I didn't want to go before I reminisce with Luis Ortiz, who was my colleague. First of all, he was my student at Lincoln High School, and later he was here at UCLA when I was working the High Potential Upward Bound program. And he remembers that when they first hired me to work the High Potential program, they had an employment application and they wanted to know my occupation. So I put down there, and this is now 68, July 68, several months after the walkouts, and I put down occupation revolutionary. So UCLA says we can't hire you with that occupation. So I had to change it a little bit. But again, muchísimas gracias, and see you after the movie.
It's not over. We're going to move from here to the Fowler Museum for a reception. The reception starts at 5:30, so you have enough time to walk over to the museum, go down to the patio. Everyone knows where Royce Hall is, right? Royce Hall with the two towers. The Fowler Museum is just below it, the lower part of the hill, and you can get there really easy from here. In fact, if you start walking over now,